Well, it looks
Because
like
apparently
more.
everybody is in shambles because their DEI IT departments can't do anything. Oh.
I had a freaking aneurysm over this when I read this. Like,
But CrowdStrike outages leaves game dev in shambles. This is apparently happening all over the place to several major game developers and stuff. But essentially, what has happened? A driver has stopped functioning properly, and it has bricked every system,
Wow.
and nobody can fix it.
in the world, like every system that used this driver got the blue screen of death.
Listen, I should have probably had finished college and went into IT, because then I would be the only IT person in the world who could actually do my shit, sit back and relax, while these other peons are running around for 3 hours doing shit. So I have stories, right? At work, they were changing the office at the plant, changing around the office and how it works. And they moved a printer from one side of the office to the other side, and they had IT in there trying to connect the printer, and the printer's been disconnected now for 2 days. They can't figure out why it's not connecting. They can't get anybody to connect to it. IT was sitting in there, and I was talking to the office manager, the chick who runs their shipping office, right? And was asking, how long is this going to take? Because we got stuff to do. You guys have done things, and you refuse to write these bills manually. And stuff is piling up. We got to get these shipments out. And they can't figure out what it is. It's not communicating. And I looked at it, I was like, is that the port you're trying to use? And the IT guy looked up at me and was like, yeah. I was like, have you turned it on? What? Have you turned it on?
No.
They haven't used this port in 3 freaking years. I guarantee it shut off automatically.
Yeah.
Due to security protocols when it wasn't used in like 30 days. Have you turned the port on? Yeah, it's on. It's on. And then I go back and I start talking to what's her name, and I'm like, okay, and he gets up and leaves. Comes back about 5 minutes later, tries it suddenly works.
Because they turned the port on.
Because nobody turned the port on until then. So I can totally believe that nobody at these companies have any idea what they're doing anymore. They've been handed the keys to a system that just functions.
And then just ride it.
And the second something as simple as turning a port on in the building,
I have my own
it
IT
takes
story.
forever to figure out what the deal is because nobody thinks about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have my own IT story. Wasn't in IT because I don't qualify. Keep that in mind. So we're working on this conveyor belt, packing clothes or whatever. And the way it works is there's 3 bays on either side of the conveyor belt, and to make up the whole row. Well, I'm working in one bay. My friend is working in the bay across from me, not in the same area, but like over the wall. So we're talking, working. Then she says, "Hey, the bay's down." And I asked her, "Is it the whole row or just the one bay?" She's like, she asked somebody in the row. It's like, "Yeah, it's the whole row." So I go out to the main part of the floor. I look up and point to a access point. For those who aren't in the know, that's like your home router, but on a like business scale. So I point up to that access point. I was like, "See that up there?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "That's like your," and I'm like, "That's like your router at home. That's broken, and they're not going to know about it for about 8 hours." So the IT guy is walking around in his little cart with his laptop, stopping at each row and stopping on the main floor and doing something on his computer. And I was like, "What you doing?" He's like, "Oh, we're trying to fix that down row." I'm like, "Oh, it's the router up there. You just got to get a scissor lift, get up there, swap it out." He's like, well, we gotta follow the signal and make sure that we know where it's coming from. He kind of rolled his eyes. And no joke, because it was a 12-hour day. As we're leaving, who is on a scissor lift going up to the router I pointed to? The IT guy. I yelled up there, I was like, told you. And here's the thing. Now back to like this thing. Took me 2 seconds to figure out how they could pretty much mass fix this for whatever company they're working for. It's literally 2 lines of code and turn on all the computers. You put in a .bat file, run it through the network from the network administrator's station, and just sit back and let it do its thing to delete all the drivers. Well, not all the drivers, but the driver. Delete the driver from all the workstations and go. Like,
Well, see, that also depends on how the network is set up, right? See, when we were setting up networks back when I was in the Air Force, we started investing into a blade system.
yeah,
And it made it really easy. I mean, they were frustrating to set up from time to time, but it made it really, really easy for me to do anything on a network wide, base wide thing because it was just I go into the server room, I log into the thing, and do it from there. And it just forces the command to every single blade.
yeah, I would assume people aren't dumb enough to abandon that kind of setup.
That's the problem. That's what I'm afraid of is they're on a company intranet, right?
Yeah.
But does anybody actually have the keys to do it properly?
You
in
might
this
be
day
on
and
the
age?
You might be onto something because
Like,
people are
do they have a
paranoid of
server room
security.
that they can go into, log into at the bare bones base, and just push a command out to every station? I unfortunately don't know how these gaming companies set up their network, but I would
Yeah.
assume they have that.
I can't go into detail how I know, but do you want to know something? They don't.
They probably don't. I don't know, but I think
It deals with my
dumb
day
if they
job. That's
didn't.
why I'm saying I can't say it, but like why I know. But to say like, yeah, I realize now. Like as you say that, like they remotely go in now.
Yeah, which is so dumb. It's so much easier to just do it from there, send it out, and say, "All right, should be up in a few hours." Let it run through the system and do its thing.
Like, yeah, I just thought about that. They totally
And
abandoned
it
that.
would take you like 5 minutes at max to do this because you've got to walk to the server room and take care of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everything is kind of screeching to a standstill, and it's apparently affecting a lot of people right now. And because luckily, all these companies have invested so much into DEI with their IT and everything else. I'm sure they're going to figure it out eventually. But they may have to call in a small favor somewhere, I'm sure, to the previous guy who was working.
So, Meg, what are your thoughts on this?
I have almost zero thoughts on this.
This one's a bit over your pay grade, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, sure. I'm not sure what went wrong. I don't know. If I had something to add, I totally would have been like, so the thing is, you would have totally heard me.
Yeah, so apparently CloudStrike has got a bug that it just bricked up everything.
Yeah,
and everybody uses it because it's a Windows thing.
Yeah.
Except for the systems we're on, because we don't use it.
Well, here's the thing. What Microsoft does is one of the ingenious but absolutely idiotic thing all at the same time. Their updates will bundle third-party driver updates along with it. Now, usually they got to check these drivers, make sure they're not viruses and shit. But that doesn't mean that they check it for compatibility all the time. And I got a feeling that's what happened. It wasn't compatible. By the way, I think I do know. Now, I know when I first started, my telepathy wasn't working that great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I got a hint of what Meg was thinking while we were talking, Zia.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
But-
no, I was just like, there's nothing for me to say here. Like, this is literally just, these are the facts and this is what happens. Like, I'm usually more about the philosophy behind what happened. So, I mean, I don't know anything about CloudStrike as a company, so I'm like, I don't know.
I can't even remember the last time I saw a workstation with a workable boot drive or a disk drive to begin with.
This is true. I
I mean, this guy's not wrong. This would be an
Yeah.
easy thing to fix for the workstation. Just put a script on a boot disk, and anybody can run the fix.
Yeah.
Problem is, I hadn't seen a workstation in a long time that actually had a disk drive.
but you can always plug in a USB.
Oh, no,
right?
no, that's not a disk drive. Script on a boot disk. I didn't read that part. Yeah.
Boot disk.
Yeah, bro. That's.
Well, see, here's the other thing, too. A lot of these companies, due to security reasons, the only way to actually access their USB ports is for you to be granted access to it. They can't get into the system to grant you access or to have a device that is capable of plugging into it. You can't use the USB port either.
Really? I mean, I don't work in IT. My husband does, but I
So-
don't. So I think there's a way to bypass that, but you have to like actually be in the know on that. I have no idea. It also depends on how they.
Yeah, I mean, there's
things up.
ways to go about it. You know, you
Yeah.
put the key on the thing, you plug it in, it accepts it. You do it that way, but
Yeah, the security fobs. Yeah.
yeah. But again, we're also talking about people who can't figure it out to begin with. So.
Yeah. So looks like
I mean, sometimes there's a weird problem that just happens, but I mean, I'm wondering if this is, some people are saying this is DEI at work. So I'm wondering if they've hired people on who didn't know what they were doing, got careless, and they've built things up because of the fact that I mean, I've never done IT stuff. I've done more things with I've done a little bit of coding, not a whole lot, but if one slight misstep and your whole program sucks, it's crashed, it makes no sense, it won't run, just so if these weren't set up with the greatest care, when something goes slightly catawampus, you can't fix it because it's not set up very well. But anyway, that's like the only thought I have on this. I'm just like, yeah, because I don't know anything.
Yeah, I'm going to send you something that pretty much summarizes that whole situation.